Hi everyone and welcome to Asami Rec Care. So today's video is going to be all about, well, it's going to be a bit of a sad one, I should warn you to start off with. So if you're not in the mood, turn off and come back later and we'll talk about it later. But effectively I thought this would be a really useful one. It's going to be all about quality of life, and we're going to look at a particular example here where I'm going to be making the quality of life call. And no doubt if you recognise the little lad involved here, this is Bercow. I know Bercow is very much loved by a lot of you, so I know that you will genuinely kind of feel this in the same way that I do. So Bercow, and if we get you out a little bit, I don't want to push you around too much. Come see your public. Bercow is stubborn as ever. So for those of you that remember, Bercow came to me. Do you want a noodle? No. He's like, I'm not bothered with food right now, I just want to have a bit of a toodle. But as you can see from Bercow at the moment, he's an old man. He turned 28 months, probably a month or two ago. What you could potentially also see at the moment is he's got quite heavy breathing going on. He's very slow getting around right now, and that's because he has HLD, but he also has something else as well, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm honest, that it's his heart. And this is where quality of life kind of comes into things. So I have plenty of options when it comes to heart issues in rats. I can try different medication, things like furosemide, ACE inhibitors and diuretic, or you can also try beta blockers as well. He's off now, bless him. But it's one, and they can have good results, I should say. They can give the rat back quite a good quality of life, assuming they had a good quality of life to start off with, which is where it becomes difficult. He is having a proper claw, he loves this exploring. But where it becomes difficult in Bercow's case, and it relates very much to his past. So Bercow, when he came to me, was a rat that was very afraid of handling, very afraid of people. He was interested, but afraid, and he was not comfortable at all with that. Over time, me and him formed quite a good relationship. We're good friends now, and he does genuinely like me. He likes to sit on my knee at free range and stare at me in a creepy manner. That's very Bercow. But he doesn't like being held. It's something that if I hold him for any particular length of time, he gets quite stressed about. It's not his way. The other thing he doesn't like is he doesn't like me helping him a lot. So if he's struggling on free range, or if he's kind of not able to do something, it frustrates him. But if I go to help him, he genuinely doesn't want to. He doesn't like kind of tell me to piss off in the biting way, which some rats have been known to do, but he does get frustrated with it. He likes his independence. He likes to be able to do things, don't you, mister? He likes to be able to wander and explore. So the fact that he's now got this heart condition, and like just looking at him there now, you can see the amount of kind of heaviness of his breathing, and that's because he's got fluid in his chest. It's very silent. It's quite normal with heart issues, but if you're used to feeling these things, his chest physically doesn't move as much as a normal rat's would. It feels quite solid, and that is usually a sign that there's something going on there. In this case, kind of probably a lot of fluid in there. It can also be things like lung tumours, etc. I think that's going to fall off, so I don't think you should be standing on that, Berk. So we're in the situation now with Bercow that if I wanted to, I could be trying heart meds to see if I'm going to improve his breathing, because there's clear that there's a problem there, and the fact that he kind of like wanders around, has a break, a rest, stops and kind of just breathes, that's quite classic with a heart condition because it's quite hard work for him. But in order to do that, Bercow will take some meds, basically Baytril, maybe Metacam if I'm very lucky, hidden in food. Anything else I have to syringe him, and it's deeply distressing for him. It's something that's really concerning. So this is where you then start thinking, right, is it fair on the rats? So it's not always fair to treat a rat. It might make you feel better about yourself. It would make me feel deeply better about myself if I treated Bercow and he kind of improved. I felt like I tried everything. But I have to take into account Bercow and who he is and what kind of life that would give him. So what it would mean is twice a day I would have to syringe meds in. And yeah, that's only for a short period of time, but he would get very stressed. What I tend to find as well with rats with heart issues is it's even worse for them when you have to hold them, because I would have to wrap him and hold him to syringe the meds into him. When you do that, they do start panicking, and because they're already struggling with their breathing, bless you, mister, because they're already struggling with that, it becomes even worse. So their breathing becomes heavier, they panic because they're struggling to breathe, and it's not a nice experience. Now, if with Bercow, I thought that by treating him, I could potentially... Do you want that? Is that what you want? Yeah, you'll have that. If I thought by treating him, I could get him to the point where he was going to have a good, happy life in the main, and then I could reliably get him to take his meds without having to syringe him every day, because I will say heart meds, they don't fix the problem, they control the problem. So it means he would need to be on these twice daily meds for the rest of his life. So if I felt I could get him to the point where I didn't have to syringe it into him every day and cause him distress, then I'd be tempted to try. And there's also the case, he was already on what I term quality of life watch anyway. His hind leg degeneration has been getting worse. He's still getting around, as you can see. He's kind of had a nice little toodle around. It's not awful yet, but combined with his heart issue, it's kind of, you can just feel he's struggling. I mean, you saw him when he was sat up there, he's tired, and it becomes very difficult for the unroller as well. Sorry, I shouldn't do these ones. But yeah, it becomes very difficult for them. I think it brought it home. This morning was the first morning that he didn't come out of his hammock for food. And whilst he still loves his wand, I thought, I'll be okay. I did it. I've managed to survive movements, but yeah, they're all hard. But yes, he struggled to come out of his hammock this morning. He came to the door and I gave him a bit of food there, but normally he's out on the floor foraging around with the boys. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, he was still running in the wheel. When I say running, trotting slowly, because Bercow doesn't really run anymore. But it's clear now that whilst he can still do things that he enjoys, it's really restricting him. So the fact that he gets exhausted very easily has meant that, like, this heart issue added on top of it, I could improve it probably a bit. I might not be able to, I should say. The meds don't always work, and we would spend at least 5 days finding that out, which, given his current quality of life and his quality of life before being kind of like borderline, it's not fair on him. So basically this is kind of like an example of a decision. It's a difficult one. I'm choosing to not try some medication that might improve things for him, and it's probably got a reasonable chance of improving things for him, but the cost of that for me is too great for Bercow. There are other rats in my group that if they had heart issues and I had to syringe meds into them, actually, you know, they'd get a little bit, like, they wouldn't like it, but they wouldn't get so stressed, and it wouldn't kind of like harm them mentally in the same way. It spent a lot of time, me and Bercow, building up trust, and he likes that, and he likes our relationship as it is. He'll wander up and visit me when he wants, or he'll wander off and eat his treat, and that's who he is, and I don't want to ruin that for him. I would rather him have a kind of peaceful, gentle end, which is what will be happening, than have to go through twice daily syringing of meds, which would be so deeply upsetting for him. So I really wanted to share this, knowing that it sometimes helps seeing that other people are making difficult decisions, but because also that I think quality of life is so dependent on the rat. Like I say, there are rats that I would keep trying with, that I think it would have a good chance of giving them a good quality of life, or they would be very tolerant of the kind of like medication, or they would eat medication hidden in stuff. Bercow's fairly stubborn, bless him. It does depend on the life, so it's not just about the condition, it's not just about how old they are, though that does factor into it. The fact he's like 28 months old, and he's probably, if I'm entirely honest, his condition at the moment and how he feels, without meds he's probably got a couple of weeks, but the fact that he's no longer getting as much joy out of life means that I would rather end it now than wait. As much as it would be easier on me to not have to put him to sleep, I don't do this for me, if that makes sense. I would rather him have peace than kind of go through that gradual decline, being able to do less and less and be more and more tired. So effectively, that's kind of the point I'm at and the decision that I've made, that I will be putting Bercow to sleep. But I hope that is useful, and I hope that's kind of valuable to see the logic. And I'm not saying I'm perfectly right on this. It is a subjective decision, and it is based on my experience of having seen rats in Bercow's condition before, and probably understanding him and the kind of bond we have. You can't see him really now, but he's just stopped, and like he was up on there, just stopped, and he's just breathing, which just make me know that it's the right decision, which is something. So we'll say a quick goodbye to the rat that's probably got more fans than any of my other rats, and we'll see that he has a nice treat, and then he gets a nice peaceful rest. So out from me and Bercow.